Letter to my mom, unwitting feminist. I'm sorry, Mom. Hi, Mom. I'm writing you today more for my own peace of mind than yours. I'm writing to let you know that I've been thinking a lot lately, and finally it seems the penny has dropped, so I am able to say I am sorry. I'm sorry, Mom, because someone somehow taught you that as a woman you were less, a second-class citizen, and I'm sorry because this is what you taught me and my sister, and this is the way I hear you talking about your granddaughters. I'm sorry, Mom, because you got married so young and with a man you had known for just 3 months. These were both your own choices, but it seemed you regretted them all your life. I'm sorry, Mom, because you made important choices which shaped your life, feeling maybe you didn't have a choice. I'm sorry, Mom, because your first child was stillborn and that terrible trauma made you say better many than none. I'm sorry, Mom, because you had 6 children and you were told and believed that you were a slave of your own family. I'm sorry, Mom, because you were made believe that you were fat and that it had to do with having 7 pregnancies. I'm sorry, Mom, because you bought the feminist lie that you were oppressed being a wife, a mother and a housewife, and this lie never allowed you to fully appreciate your kids, your husband, and your life. I'm sorry, Mom, because you were and are a well of knowledge, but you were told that that kind of knowledge is not important. You nurtured your family, made everything for us, cheese, bread, cakes. You cooked the richest, most nutritious and healthiest foods. You made our carnival costumes, our little dresses and much, much more. But you never understood the importance of your own gifts, therefore you couldn't teach it to us. I'm sorry, Mom, because you were made feel ashamed of your feminine role of mother and nurturer, and therefore you haven't been able to light that flame inside us. I'm sorry, Mom. You had a husband who put all his energy into working and maintaining his family. I'm sorry that all the money he earned was for the family and he didn't give you gifts, not as many as you were told you should have had anyway. I'm sorry because you felt you were oppressed, a slave, and no matter what, he never did enough. And we all believed you and attacked him constantly. I'm sorry, Mom, because you and Dad never learned how to communicate properly and neither of you took responsibility for it. I'm sorry, Mom, because every argument between you and Dad would have turned into an horrible fight, with you both screaming terrible things at each other, and ending up with Dad in the kitchen trying to calm down, and you sitting in the sitting room crying like a little girl, and saying, "My mom was right, I should have listened to her, damn myself and the day I married you." I'm sorry because this happened every other day through all my childhood. And as a child, I couldn't understand what was happening. I just hated to see you crying, and for this reason, I always sided with you. And your words got under my skin. I'm sorry, Mom. You resented every single sacrifice and beautiful things you did for us, because every single one of those things was accompanied by complaints on how much you felt to be a slave and stupid. And then you'll tell us girls we had to learn how to do those house chores, because that was our duty and place as women. And one day we too will be slaves of a man if we didn't study and become better women than simple wife, mothers. I'm sorry, Mom, because I obviously learned from you more than I was aware of. I learned from your experience, and I promised myself that I'll never be as stupid as you had been. I'll listen to my mother and never be the slave of a man and of a family. I'm sorry, Mom, because you felt you didn't have a say about how many kids you had, even though you said better many than none. Your church didn't give you the choice of contraception, which you consider sin anyway. So you got pregnant again with me. I'm sorry, Mom. You consider me a mistake and that I heard this all my life. I'm sorry, Mom, that when you told Dad you were pregnant again with me, he answered, "Don't worry, we'll do it somehow. I'll work harder." And I'm sorry that your 16-year-old son scolded you and Dad and said that at your age you should have learned to use precautions. I'm sorry you were made feel ashamed of having me even before I was born. I'm sorry, Mom, you bought all the lies which told you that every woman is a second-class citizen and that every man is a bad man. I'm sorry because you haven't been able to appreciate your husband when he was alive. He was far from perfect, but he did anything he could for his family, even if he was under constant attack. He went out for work each single day but Sunday and maintained a family of 8 people with his work. I'm sorry because I've never been able to see the good in him and how hard he worked for us. Your tears, your screams, your constant judgment and attacks toward him blinded me. I'm sorry, Mom, because when Dad fell sick, he lost the capacity of talking, which in your eyes turned him into a helpless baby, and that's the way you treated him ever after. I'm sorry, Mom, because the last time I saw my dad, he was tied to a bed wearing a diaper, incapable of communicating through words, but still present in his eyes, his dignity lost forever with the ability of talking. I'm sorry, Mom, because shame brought you to decide that because of his sickness, Dad couldn't go out of the house anymore, so he wouldn't humiliate himself or the family. I'm sorry because you locked the cage and he reacted like a wild animal in captivity. I'm sorry, Mom, because you told everyone how violent Dad became in his sickness and all your kids sided with you and decided to put him out of his own house in a nursing home to protect you. I'm sorry, Mom, because after he worked all his life for you and us, Dad died alone, sedated like a dangerous feral animal, surrounded by strangers. I'm sorry, Mom, because at Dad's funeral I refused to see the vegetable he became to preserve the image of the man I knew, even if then he was still a monster to me. I'm sorry, Mom. I wasn't the daughter you expected me to be, like you weren't the woman you wanted to be, like your husband wasn't the man you wanted him to be, or my brothers and sisters, or grandson and granddaughters. It seems, somehow, none of us was, is, able to reach your standards. I'm sorry, Mom. You instilled your standards, judgment, and self-judgment into every one of us, because these made us all feel the same antagonism toward each other and pushed us all to fight amongst ourselves. Dad was the one who whipped us, but was the one pulling the strings behind the curtains. He got all the hate and blame for it. I'm sorry, Mom. You felt less a slave, oppressed, ignorant, uneducated woman. I'm sorry because that seed was sowed into me as well. I'm sorry, Mom. You have been told that as a woman you are not worthy of your care or attentions, that your role of mother and wife meant you were a slave, a servant. I'm sorry because you influenced the lives of all your kids repeating these lies, and they are now repeating the cycle again with their own kids, like a never-ending bad dream. I'm sorry, Mom, because it took me nearly 40 years to break the spell and uncover all of these lies and what they did to us. I have to thank my man for showing me that not all men are bad, that we can learn together how to grow and communicate. The men are not perfect, and women aren't either, but we can help and complete each other. Sorry, Mom, because even if late, I am liberating myself from all the feminist lies and illusions, whereas it seems that you never will. Man and woman, husband and wife, especially of the kind of you and Dad, are a team, and in a team each player has a different role. All the roles are essential for the perfect functioning of the team and to reach the intended goal. Without those roles, no healthy family will ever exist again. In renouncing those roles, we renounce the quintessential meaning of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. Rejecting our natural feminine and masculine nature, we reject happiness and doom ourselves to a life of dissatisfaction, loneliness, pain, and sorrow. For fear of becoming like you, I nearly missed the opportunity to be a happy woman. Now I cook and nurture, I care for myself and my loved ones, and there is no other place I'd like to be rather than in my own house with them, even if I still have to go to work, thanks to those feminists who fought for our right to be slaves and servants of strangers. I'm sorry, Mom. We were all sold an illusion of freedom that doesn't exist. The truth is that we all have to work, and if I could choose, I'd prefer to be in my own house, working together and for the one I love, rather than working for strangers and be submitted to a boss who cares only about the business. I'm sorry, Mom, because you were just another victim of these lies, like me and many women all over the world. If I had a time machine, Mom, I'd love to go back in time and meet a young you and tell her it is okay to be a woman. It is okay to love your man, and I'd tell you thanks for all the fantastic work that you will do for us. And I'd like to tell this young you, look how lucky you are and what a fabulous family you have. Thank your man and be proud and teach your kids through example and kindness the same. Your daughter.